X-Men. Get it!
Ho, 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 everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your Jolly X-Men podcast where we rank every story from naughty to nice.
I'm Adam Claus.
Zach, what? No, you have a name. We have names.
That was still my name. It just
That
had
doesn't
Claus
make sense.
after it. Like Santa
No,
Claus? No?
that's
Okay.
a bit.
I tried.
We don't do bits here. This is Christmas. We got to give joy and cheer to everybody.
No. This is not Christmas. It is Chrisesmas. It is the second annual Chrisesmas. And we have...
Technically the third. Well, it's the second annual Chrisesmas. But before Chrisesmas, there was Christimas.
That's right.
Which was just Christy. Chris and Christi Eddleman are here, folks.
Hey!
I was about to leave when you said no bits. That's really not our thing.
Christi only knows bits.
Yo, listen, we all do love bits around here, regardless of what the iTunes reviews say. Sometimes our bits are good. Who's to say?
Well, we welcome the Eddlemans, who always have the best bits on their podcast, Chris's on Infinite Earths.
Thank you.
Welcome back. And today we're going to talk about some holiday comics, specifically a couple Chris Claremont joints and another holiday special.
It is shocking to me how many X-Men Christmas comics there are.
The
Really?
fact
We're
that this
running
is
out.
my third Christmas episode on this. Yeah.
That means there's at least 9.
And there were Christmas episodes before the ones that I was
Yeah,
on.
we got the easy ones out early.
Yeah.
But to wit, literally as Adam and I were sitting there, a new X-Men Christmas comic appeared on the Marvel Unlimited app. A brand new one within the time we had started recording. That's not a joke.
Goodness.
Which is great. I mean, that means more content for next year, right?
This close to being like, hey, forget one of these stories. We're going to do this fresh off the presses comic by Ryan North. And we didn't do that.
No. Because, well, we have to start with a 100-page monster, or at
This
least
isn't
that's
a
what it's...
100-page monster. There's just 3 other comics that they printed with this.
I was going to say, did they just throw a
Yeah.
bunch of backups at the reprints?
Yeah, they threw a bunch of backups of other stories we covered on previous Christmas episodes.
Hey.
Okay. But this is X-Men Volume 2, number 109, written by Chris Claremont and penciled by Thomas Derenick, Rich Ketchum and Norm Rappin on inks, and
Yeah, so
liquid colors.
This comes out in 2000. Christy, I'm curious. What do you know about what was going on with the X-Men in the year 2000?
This is always a fun question for me because I feel like I have read such a smattering of the timeline of X continuity that I don't know. I have no guesses. Like, I've read this. Obviously we still have Betsy Braddock in Psylocke in the Quanon's body, and that's, interesting, I guess.
I also, this is a huge blind spot for me, X-Men wise as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, y'all, this is a weird one, which is part of why we picked it. This is nearly the last story that Claremont does on this title. I think it is. He stops doing adjectiveless X-Men for a while. So what had happened is in early 2000, they brought Chris Claremont in to write the X-Men. And it was bad.
Yep.
And he stops writing the X-Men about 6 to 8 months later.
Mm.
He started with X-Men number 100, and 9's his last issue.
Okay.
Did Claremont introduce sort of, I feel like, one of our main characters in this, Neil Shara?
Yeah, Neil Shara. Y'all know about Thunderbird 3, right?
I can't remember anything about him. To be
Christy's
completely
making a
honest.
face.
This is the third. I know that he's Thunderbird 3. This is the third mutant known as Thunderbird.
Okay, because I saw Thunderbird as the code name. I was like, that's not Thunderbird. What are they talking about? I don't understand.
Okay, so
You're not alone.
There's some
okay.
uncomfortable implications.
No, it's gonna get more uncomfortable when I explain
I'm
why
like,
he's Thunderbird
He's
3.
from India. Why is he?
Yep,
Okay.
there you go.
There you go. You figured it out.
Mm,
It's not good.
They were
mm.
they were going to name him after a Hindu fire god, whose name I am blanking on right now, and they decided since Hindu is a active religion that maybe they weren't going to do that, which I think is a that's a very heads up move from the part of Marvel, saying, I don't know, maybe it's good, maybe it's not. We're not really close enough to Hindu to know if we're going to offend somebody, so maybe we just don't.
Right, but
Shocking for
weird.
year 2000
But
Marvel.
the backup choice is
Oh
that.
no!
It is
They
also
muffed it.
bad.
They had such good intentions that they muffed it hard.
It's
Also weird that Claremont had also done that before. He had also already in Marvel, I think it's Marvel Team Up with Spider-Man and the X-Men, named like a whole bunch of characters after Hindu religious figures, but whatever.
It's fine.
One thing we can say about Neil Shara, he likes to just jump into a children's snowball fight.
he does. It is such a Claremontian opening with the he describes it as if it's like some epic battle.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they have a pretty substantial snow fort there.
They do. Colossus destroys these children's snow fort.
Good.
Good.
You'd never know that these kids are having a bad time though. Like this group of superpowered adults just like totally invaded their snowball fight, and they're just like, this is great. I'm thinking if this is me as a kid, I'm pissed. I'm like, you just messed up my snow fort, dude. I was working on that for days.
Mm-hmm. Do we feel like Thomas Derenick is doing his best Howard Porter, or is this just the style at the time? Howard Porter was the penciler of the JLA that Morrison did. It is similar-ish to me. Maybe that's just the colors at the time that it's like making me feel that way.
No, I mean I think there's something there. I am not actually very familiar with Thomas Derenick. I don't think he did a ton of X-Men stuff. He only did 33 issues for Marvel. Oh, he did an issue of the Grant Morrison run of New X-Men.
Oh wow.
He was one of the fill-in guys there.
Yeah.
Rough for him.
I mean,
yeah,
I can't win them all.
It's just fine.
Yeah, the
it's
art's
kind of
totally
like
fine. Very house
It's kind of
style.
like a Mark Bagley style, like just house style.
If I had
it's
to
okay.
name the style, it would be balloon boobs.
Oh no.
Oh well, okay, yes.
Well,
They
and I think that
They're all like perfectly.
they are, but
Miracle.
also the coloring there does not do it any favors. It's like, how can we color regular cotton fabrics to look like latex?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's not great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
which makes it interesting when this is a story about a bunch of strong-willed women going off and saying, I don't trust Xavier to do the right thing, so we're going to do the right thing instead.
This is the whole Destiny has a bunch of books about what's going to happen, and there's
this is the start. This is like the start of the Destiny Diaries.
I know, which is
Well,
still
what's
being followed up on
fascinating-
now. Sorry.
Yeah, but no. What you're highlighting is that this issue really exists just to set up Extreme X-Men, correct?
More or less. That's what it feels like.
I mean, there's even a part of this issue where Storm kind of calls out the roster. It's not perfect. It will eventually be a little bit different, but
I thought the purpose was to see Colossus in clown makeup.
They do
There's
kind of
some-
randomly do a circus there toward.
there is some weird clown content on this episode. We're gonna get back to that.
There is a shocking
yes.
amount of X-Men in circuses, just in general.
But it is weird that we cut from like being in this winter wonderland to Nightcrawler just like cameoing as trapeze artist. Like,
He's
okay,
hanging out with Cerise, who I don't think had been seen for at least 5 years before this, if not more.
Yeah, he's real
Well-
cuddly with her.
Wow,
Yeah.
I thought this was like something ongoing. Like it really projected that this was a serious thing that was happening.
They had dated back in the Alan Davis run of Excalibur, but when Scott Lobdell took over the book, he promptly wrote her out.
so is this the
Wait.
first time Cerise was in any X book since that time? Because
You know
I could
what?
totally see
It
Claremont doing
looks
that.
like, if I'm looking at this right, you know about Maximum Security? The crossover Maximum Security, Adam?
No,
That's the one that takes
Hey,
I do
place
not
in
know what that
space.
is.
No, Chrises, have you guys covered Maximum Security?
We have not.
That's not the one that takes place in space.
Well, space is involved. So what happens?
Uh-huh.
Aren't we all in space at all times, really?
True.
Sure.
You know how the Earth has a lot of super people around?
True.
Yes.
Well, the Shi'ar at one point got really freaking tired of that and said, hey, we have a lot of super criminals, so we're going to turn Earth into a prison planet and put all the bad guys there.
That's
They
a fun
didn't
idea.
consult Earth first.
I like that. That's a fun idea.
Didn't they already have a space prison? Why did they need a
Yeah,
an
like the
Earth
Shi'ar
prison?
Empire is like several galaxies, right? Like you think they could figure something out.
They are an
They
empire.
did, and what they figured out was the same thing that the Kree wanted, which was, let's just put them on Earth. Earth sucks. They bother us so much.
Is Earth the Australia?
Of the
Yes,
galaxy.
kinda.
Apparently.
All right, wait. This had something to do with Cerise?
Oh, she was in that crossover.
Hey.
And that crossover
Oh.
happens right
Okay.
before this.
Cool.
That's
Great.
that's how they got reconnected. Good for
Oh.
them.
Well, that's nice.
I'm happy for Nightcrawler.
not
Anytime
connecting-
Nightcrawler can make out with a bird, I'm happy.
But he's got to go be holy and a priest.
Speak-
Like,
Yeah, speaking of birds and making out, Psylocke and Warren
Oh, yeah.
not getting along, actually. He's a little jealous of the way she's interacting with Thunderbird, so breaks up with
In
her.
his defense, she's about to make out with Thunderbird for like no reason several times, and unprompted gives him nudes, which I feel like
Well,
It is
we don't know what's in that box.
But we think it's got to be something like that though.
It is weird that she says something to remember me by.
And then
even
everybody's like,
though-
"Show us what she got you," and he's like, "I am absolutely not going to do that."
I like that you guys all jumped to nudes and not like used panties.
I don't. That's another disturbing theme of this episode, so we'll come back to that. What is wrong with this episode? There's
It's all
clowns and
Christmas.
underwear thieves.
we're all very tired, and we're all thinking about what gifts that we want to be giving or receiving this year, figuring out how we can, keep the Christmas spirit alive, I think.
Zach, are you saying you want nudes for Christmas?
I mean,
I'm gonna have to
Who
put another
among us?
warning on this episode.
killing me.
Christy,
killing me.
you're making it the not safe for work. Incredible.
Listen,
Well,
Somebody
it's Christmas.
already said nudes. I didn't bring up nudes.
Chris
That's
Claremont said nudes.
Hey,
Chris Claremont
fun fact,
started
folks.
it.
Fun fact, folks. You're gonna hear a little bit more from Chris Claremont at the end of this episode, but this last weekend, as we're recording this, I did get a chance to ask Chris Claremont very academically what was up with all the bondage. He refused to answer.
He answered.
He said he was English. That's not an answer. That's nonsense.
What?
That's a non sequitur.
They were words that came out of his mouth in response to your question.
You should have showed him this comic and said, "What's in the box?"
No, we did right after that. Friend of the side, Ian Gregory, did ask Chris Claremont if he still believes the movie The Exorcist is Jesuit propaganda, as he said in a Marvel magazine from the 70s after he just watched it.
He did
Chris
seem
Claremont's
flabbergasted.
son was not happy about that and did talk to me the next day, did not know who I was, saying, "Yeah, did you go to that panel? Those two questions were wild. What was up with that?" don't know, Chris Claremont's son. I don't know, buddy.
Pretty sure
Ask
they
your
taped
dad
that
what he was
panel.
up to. Oh,
Pretty
it's
sure they taped it.
No, bud, it's recorded. There is video.
Oh,
You
boy.
guys can see
Saying.
it for yourself.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be like, oh, that's the guy that interviewed me.
Nah, they'll never watch this again. What's
No.
this comic?
What is this comic?
It
one-
is just kind of some Christmas cheer in comic form, really.
I mean, we get kind of an opening all together scene, and then we just get little individual vignettes throughout, and we're all reunited, and it's Christmas. So
Eventually, Beast puts on a Santa Claus outfit. Wait, is that this one?
no, it's not this
That's
one.
not this
My
one.
apologies.
No, this one.
That's okay.
This one, Beast just gets to make out, and I'm not about that.
With Trish.
With Trish.
With
Yeah.
Trish
But
Trilby.
I don't want Beast to be happy. So
He was not as
Don't
terrible
worry,
at
he's
this
with
point.
Trish Trilby. This is before he lied about being gay to make Trish jealous for breaking up
Which
with
was
him.
bizarre.
That's a Morrison
excuse me,
choice.
you're gonna have to like back that up and break that down for me.
In the
There's not a lot
Morrison
to break
run, at
down.
one point when he's talking to Trish Trilby after they break up, he's like, actually, I think I might be gay. And then later was like, I'm absolutely not gay.
Yeah, what happens is Scott and him are walking somewhere, and he's like, "Beast, what are you doing? This is so weird. You're not gay. Like, it's cool if you are, but you and me both like know that you're not. So what's going on?" Anyway, he is
So-
just doing it for attention. It's not
So
the
that's
most graceful thing in that run.
okay. So it was just his way of saying I wasn't that into you to begin with, and like
Yes.
Yes.
okay,
He's doing it. He's doing it because he's a petty little man.
yeah.
But it is weird given that Trish and him were together for quite a bit of time in continuity. You know what I mean?
Listen, Morrison, love that Morrison is living the truth right now. They obviously had a lot of thoughts on a lot of things and didn't know the right way to express them for several years.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree with Christie's assessment that this is just kind of a series of random vignettes. I didn't mind the issue. I mean,
I do like the through line that Storm is like, "Oh no, I absolutely do not trust Charles Xavier
Yeah,
anymore."
that's good.
Yes.
That's good.
yeah.
I thought this
Um,
was probably my favorite of the three, to be honest.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean,
Huh.
it's certainly not
No.
a classic by any means.
No.
but,
I'm not.
No.
Look, I'm not gonna like.
I mean, the art was definitely well. We haven't even talked about it yet, but it's not the best art of the three.
I'm interested in what Christie's thought on the
yeah,
best art of the three.
I actually think
is.
it
You think
is
it
the
is?
best art of the
I'm
three.
sorry, the balloon boobs they ruin it for me.
Oh well, it's also possible because, well, we can talk about it later.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
so curious to see.
I
where
just
this
felt
ends
like
up.
these were really. This had some really cool like kinetic panels. I think the action flowed like decently enough.
I mean,
I like
for
that everyone was nice.
yeah,
It was
I
just
mean,
a nice
for
run.
turn of the century Claremont, this is pretty good. You know, he's got the voices of the characters still. He's leading somewhere. He's doing his check-ins with all of them, even if they're kind of weird. And I found it kind of enjoyable. You know, even
is-
if it's a little less like a sweet holiday celebration than it is, like I said, the setup for the next Claremont series.
Yeah, it's like a linker.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going
So-
back to look at the colors because I'm wondering if the balloon boobs are
Or the shine,
but
or whatever.
yeah,
that would be the
li-
colors.
It's definitely it's definitely
liquidy
partly
colors. I don't know what that is.
What?
Liquid.
Liquid color.
Liquid exclamation mark.
Yeah. Oh, that's
They
what it.
were-
I thought it was.
That was a coloring group
Yeah, I'm not about.
Or a person.
or a person.
I don't know.
It was a,
No,
a
I think
studio.
Liquid was like a collective.
You know, it's
I
like
thought Guru FX was a collective, and then I
No,
think it
Guru
turned out to
FX
be
is a
person.
dude, which is wild.
We have lots of round like planets and lots of fabrics that do not cling to people that cling to people. I'm very much critiquing the clothing. The clothing is not depicted well here,
sure, and that's just something that does not bother me as much.
and it, as somebody who studied costume design, it very much bothers me.
Right.
I would love to
Chris,
hear
I
this
think-
same take when we get to Salvador La Roca.
Chris,
Like,
I think
just a
there's
little bit.
people like you and me who are so ingrained in that just this is what superhero comics look like and we all have to accept it, that we don't notice what I think is a fair criticism.
I'm not saying it's not a fair criticism. It is just like
Chris, why are you being so sexist and not listening to this very fair point?
Honestly,
I don't know why you're trying to fight this, buddy.
Now that Christie's mentioned it, I'm just flipping through the issue, and it's all I can pay attention
Everybody's
to
so
is
shiny.
the very specific glare that is placed on each orb. It's really, really a lot.
Well,
all right,
Merry
why
Christmas,
don't we
folks.
rank
should
this
rank
thing?
one.
Yeah.
I mean, not even like top half, right?
I mean, so
well, let's introduce the list before we start talking tops or bottoms.
We've got a whole pitter patter on this one. We have 588 comics on our road to 600 that we have ranked from naughty to nice. The nicest comic is number 69 on this list, which is Iron Fist 15. But the number one comic on this list is Hoxpox. Number 100 is Wolverine / Dupe. Number 200 is X-Men the manga. Number 300 is X Factor Happenings in Vegas. Number 400 is the Jim Lee Mojo arc. Number 500 is Iceman Volume 1, and the Draco's at the very bottom. Is this better or worse than the Jim Lee Mojo arc at 400?
It is worse.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you're making me think. I want brain empty, no thoughts. Is this better or worse than number 450 on our list, which is all new X-Men 4 through 7, that time they go to Paris and Toad hits Cyclops with a whiskey bottle?
This is better than that, but it is not as good as 437, which is X Factor Judgment War.
This isn't better than the King Hyperion stuff in
Nope.
Exiles.
No, it is not.
Which is below that.
Probably
better than Life and Times of Lucas Bishop.
Yep. And probably better than New Mutants 36 Subway to Salvation.
Have you guys read any of these wild comics?
We read Life and Times of Lucas Bishop on purpose.
Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's got
I saw Stroman, but like Stroman outside of the 90s where like whoever was inking and coloring Stroman was like just
I can tell you specifically, it's the colors, because I saw this weekend at C2E2 some like 2000s era Larry Stroman like commissions and pinups that he had done.
They're good.
Gorgeous. It's the coloring. It's the coloring.
I've met him in real life. He used to come to all the Kansas City shows. I don't know where he lives, but he used to come to like every single one.
Yeah. Also, Chris, I didn't mention this because I do want to make you jealous. I did get to see some Jack the King Kirby art, like a lot of pages.
Yeah.
Yeah, they rule.
Pretty neat.
Yeah, that guy's pretty good at comics, from what I understand.
They had a whole folder, and everything was like alphabetical, except for this one folder that said KK, and I got very nervous for a second, and then I realized what they were trying to do and how they needed to do something differently. Mm-hmm. They should have just put JK there and been okay.
Or just put like Curb, something.
Anyway, I did not purchase an original Kirby page.
They're very expensive.
No kidding.
It's because I have a mortgage. It's so much. This is probably better than Cyclops Retribution, right?
It is, but I don't think it's as good as that time that Cable killed the X-Men and Magneto took over the U.S. and What If.
Okay, so this is 442.
Perfect. All right, so we're going to stick with X-Men Volume 2, but we're going to jump to number 165. The cover says it's Chuck Austen, but it's not.
It is absolutely Chris Claremont, yeah. Because
I was like, Chris Claremont.
I was bracing myself, and because I was like, oh, and then I was like, oh, it's Claremont. It says it in the credits. This is also Salvador LaRocca, who I've come to really not appreciate. But this is like
speaking of Salvador LaRocca, I also saw a ton of like Extreme X-Men era Salvador LaRocca pencils. Pages. Those are actually good.
Yeah,
like I think the pencils on those are
why
good.
are those better than they are now?
I think it's because he's trying less hard now.
Like his Star Wars that he recently did was like abusive.
Bad?
It was like I'm kidding. Like obviously, there's been a lot of
obviously
stuff about...
art 2-dimensional art can't hurt.
It cannot hurt
physically,
but it was ugh. It was like bad traces from movie stills over and over and over and over.
You've seen that shot from his Uncanny X-Men where Scott and Jean are reuniting for the first time, and he lovingly details the folds of her butt as he's grabbing it.
Yeah, Cyclops literally has like the hand on it. He did that like on purpose.
I can appreciate that.
It doesn't look
It's-
good, Christy.
Oh, okay.
No, it's
She looks like contorted, and it's like it's centered weird because Emma's also in the shot.
Oh.
and Logan. They're both
That's
looking
right.
on it like, ugh, these two.
Yep.
Little do they know, a month later.
Speaking of contortions, this issue opens with a full-page spread of Laura Kinney in a really weird pose.
Yeah, I forgot that she kind of had like a Sabretooth outfit for a little bit, huh?
But
she's wearing
that's not
Fang.
Sabretooth, that's Fang, baby.
Fang from outer space.
Oh,
From,
sure.
I'm sorry. You may know him as Timberwolf from the Legion of the Superheroes.
Oh yeah. That's right, because Fang is literally the Shi'ar who is Timberwolf, because all the Shi'ar Guardians are Legion of Superheroes members.
Because Dave Cockrum's a big old nerd.
He sure is.
Oh, rest in peace, buddy.
So the X-Men start this issue by saving a bunch of people. That's nice. All those people sort of hate and fear them. That's not as nice. X-23 is assigned to room with Kitty and Rachel. Awkward.
And they were roommates.
Sure they were.
And they were roommates.
Here's the thing. I don't think they were roommates previously to them saying, and now also you're going to have a third in your room.
Yeah, it's an interesting touch.
This is like
Not.
sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
This is very soon after Laura was rescued, correct?
Yeah, and rescued is the right word because the way Chris Claremont writes her, she is like a rescue, like a puppy that needs house trained. Her characterization struggles for a good decade.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But this is also
They
around
don't
the
even
era
call
of,
her Laura in this, do they?
They do not.
No.
They
Just
only call her
X-23.
Only
X-23
call
or
her
X.
X-23.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. But this is also around the time of the new X-Men.
Yes.
So we
Yes.
have our teams of Emma and Danny and the Hellions and the New Mutants, and that's all weird things. So that's mixed in. But this is the issue that Chris mentioned where Beast dresses up like Santa Claus and then puts clown noses on
Everyone.
Cyclops and
No,
Emma in an
just
image
Cyclops.
that I
That's
cannot
true.
erase from my mind.
I kind of love it.
Oh yeah.
Like, not necessarily
You
the
love
Beast
it?
as Santa. I like Kitty and Rachel as the elves.
Uh-huh.
I enjoy that.
Well, that's
and I
fine.
enjoy the
That's
clown
fine.
noses on
No.
Emma and
No.
Scott. I do. I love Emma getting nailed in the face with a snowball. Like the expression in that panel.
that's fine.
I love I don't know. I just liked him goofy. I'm glad we didn't see a full-on kiss with the clown noses on. We saw the beginnings of what was going to become a kiss.
Smush
with the
those
clown
noses.
Well, that's the thing about comics. You're always just seeing in between the panels, and that's where the real action happens. If we want to get real Scott McCloud on this, these
all
are all
happening in
just
the gutter.
still moments in the margins, the gutters. That's where the real nose smushing does occur.
I'm really glad
True.
that you understand comics.
There is another nose smush here as Gambit gets his eyesight back by kissing Sage. Okay.
And they do not trust Sage. The untrustable
No.
Tessa at this point.
Still.
They didn't
Yep.
trust Sage in the last issue we just talked about in 109.
Okay. Well, here's the difference between that last issue and this issue, which you would have no idea, Christy.
Okay.
Just because this was an ass pull by Claremont at the time. 100% was. Sage was Sebastian Shaw's secretary, sexy evil secretary for all of X-Men. Like, you know the Dark Phoenix saga?
This is a retcon, by the way. There was always just like a dark-haired woman hanging out.
Right.
Named Tessa.
Okay.
Yeah, she was complicit in the Dark Phoenix saga, like,
Turned
as
out-
a spy for Claremont. Or not
No, for
Claremont,
Xavier.
Xavier.
Oh my god, was she
Whichever.
a spy for Chris Claremont? That's how he could write all these stories.
Thank
Tessa
She was
God.
a spy, so her showing up in that last one was like, oh, look, she's now a good guy. And it was a big reveal that came out of nowhere.
Oh.
Versus this, where she's been like on the team for 5 years, and maybe they should not hate her.
I don't know if I
Um,
could just like get a random kiss and get like my eyesight restored. That sounds
Gambit
pretty good.
does a lot of kissing. A lot of kissing
Yeah.
from Gambit.
Yeah. The humans from the beginning of the story who got saved come to Christmas dinner. They're like, sorry, we hated you so much before. Now we're tolerant. And
I do. Okay, not that that's how the real world works, but in this fake comic book world,
it's nice.
that's like a sweet Christmas miracle.
This is like even more syrupy than normal. So yes.
Yes.
I mean, they even go to a hospice to serve food to the patients.
Yes.
Like
That's nice.
It is
I
like
think.
this is like this is like the hallmarkiest Christmas X-Men that exists, I feel like.
What's up with Force Ghost Charles and Mags here?
They're in Genosha at the time, right?
Yeah.
Are they
buddy,
telepathically being projected? Is that what's going on
think
here?
so.
Who
'Cause
could say?
They look like Force Ghosts.
They do. They really do look like it's the end of
I'm like,
Return of the
they're
Jedi.
not dead.
oh, I just thought there was strange lighting and that they were just there lurking.
No, it's really Return of the Jedi, right? The Force Ghosts show
Yeah.
up, then there's fireworks.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
There should have been a
And we
moment
get-
with like Sentinel heads, and they'd be like playing drums with them.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yep.
We do get an absolutely terrible drawing of Jubilee on the last page of this as she shouts, "Next issue, new year, new writer, new story." Why? Is
She
that
breaks the fourth
diegetic?
wall. to tell us.
Listen. If you had just dealt with 3 to 4 years of Chuck Austin comics, you would also be breaking the fourth wall to celebrate.
Yeah, well,
Jubilee is in the right here.
yeah. Jubilee's got that weird chin thing that I was talking about on the Fox episode. Like Salvador LaRocca should not draw faces from this angle. He
Yeah,
does
hey,
not know how
Christy,
to
was
do
this
it.
your favorite art of the one? I have to know if it was this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay?
A lot of people like Sal.
Listen, this is not
Look, yeah, this
You
is
know,
this is by far
worse
I mean,
some of his better
than
work.
Sal.
This is solid
Yeah.
Sal. I'm not disagreeing.
He just
It's just
he just really does not give a crap anymore. It feels like.
hey, if you cannot give a crap and still get paid, I support you.
Well, I don't think he's been on a book in over a year. So
Well,
we'll
then I
see.
don't support that.
Has
Well,
he?
it
yes,
is-
Salvador. He did the Paragon collection that Marvel did have us advertise for and did not give us enough money to buy, which was fun. That's a fun little behind the scenes of the Paragon collection ads, folks.
It was on Claremont's table. We should have just read it there.
We should have
Just
through
picked it up, sat
While
down.
you were arguing with them.
Well, I don't know. Who did the art on Kang? Was that Salvador LaRocca?
No, that's Carlos Mango.
Okay, well then, dang, I don't know. Did he do Doom? Was that the last thing he did?
Yeah, he did that Doctor Doom. He did Doctor Doom.
I think that's the
Mhm.
last one, and that was like a 2019 to 2020 book.
That was the one.
2020.
That was the one where he traced the bear, right?
Yeah, the cocaine bear.
Yeah, he traced the bear.
He did literally trace the bear from the meme.
Yeah,
And Doom is riding him through the snow, so it rules, actually. Like,
It is-
listen,
it is funny.
listen, hold on. Salvador LaRocca is in the right on that one. That's freaking funny.
That comic was like good for the fact that I had to put up with that art. I've decided. So
Okay.
are we ranking this bad boy?
First, I just need to say how much I appreciate Lila Cheney's concert. At
Oh
the end.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, forgot to mention
I
that.
should have worn my Lila Cheney shirt.
That's true. It's got
Also, totally ironic that they're celebrating the new creative team, and the new creative team is the Peter Milligan era, which is absolutely terrible.
Oh, it will continue to be bad. The creative teams will be bad until morale improves. And listen, morale doesn't improve for a
it
while.
does not.
Actually, no. I think after Milligan, we do get Mike Carey and
Yeah,
Supernovas.
There's some good stuff there.
That does rule.
We do like a Mike Carey.
I'm the Supernovas liker. That's what they call me. Also saw Supernova's art this weekend, but I looked at a lot of original art and
Couldn't
ended
get
up
you
with,
away from that booth, dude.
You couldn't. There was so much art.
I
have
know.
an addiction now.
I bought some.
I remember.
Oh, yeah.
I remember when you didn't own original art.
Me
Yeah,
too.
last year it was terrible.
Yeah, once you start picking them up and you realize like, oh, this is one of a kind and it's on my wall. You're like, oh.
It's like an NFT, except for
Stop.
it's not dumb as hell.
Yeah, it's an NFT except it's a real thing that no one else has.
It is very non-fungible.
Yep.
I think this one's better than the first story we talked about. So,
Mhm.
is everyone
I
agreeing?
think it's close. I think it's around the same. What are you guys' thoughts, Chris's?
I think I've developed a kinship with Neil Shara in a way that weirdly made me like that first story more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is
Okay.
funny because I feel like that poor guy almost has like no personality in that issue.
You know he
Okay,
dated the
so-
Omega Sentinel?
I didn't.
Oh yeah. That's all.
So Chris is the dissenting opinion here.
Yeah, but it's fine.
Okay.
I'm not gonna fight
So-
about it.
Everybody likes this one better except Chris.
Yeah, and it's like I'm not like between the two of them, I'm not deciding that one is like so much higher quality than the other. Beast in a Santa suit is good. I know Christy doesn't like it, but it's good actually.
I mean,
I agree with Chris.
I was entertained. I was also uncomfortable, but I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Okay, but as the funny guy, a lot of times, like Beast is in this one, someone being entertained but uncomfortable is an acceptable outcome of being the funny guy.
I don't think this is too high though. Like I wouldn't go past like higher than the end of New Mutants, or I am even more entertained by the time Dazzler became the Herald of Galactus. At
That
423.
sounds better.
That's gonna be my ceiling here. I would say this is probably better than Wolverine Enemy of the State.
No, Enemy of the State is better than this.
Are you sure?
It has that great JRJR art.
Again, we don't have to get into how great or not great that JRJR art was.
Probably good
Okay.
though.
I don't think this is better
very
than the-
squarey.
I don't think this is better than the Phoenix versus the Beyonder stuff at 427.
Okay, I think this is probably better than the Wolverine and Jubilee mini.
Yes, and it's probably better than What If 13.
Then let's just put it there. Guys, do you have feelings about What If 13?
No.
Just
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I didn't want to not include you, but I assume that you don't read along with us every week.
The concept of What If was created by the comic creator who lived closest to where I lived when we were both children. We were not children at the same time, but
You're talking about Roy the Boy Thomas, friend of the site.
I am. Who you can just email him and he'll give you an
refer to
interview.
Anyone. Just to be clear, anyone who we interview is a friend of us now. That's the rule.
He answered his
That's the
email
rule.
and was like, "Sure, I'll talk about What If. That sounds fine." That was great. Thanks, Roy.
Roy the Boy, baby.
He attended comic burnings in my home county and would go and bring some comics he didn't want anymore. And then when people started to put stuff on the pile, he would go and grab ones he hadn't read yet before they burned them.
My man.
That rules.
It's
That
funny though because
absolutely
it is
rules.
implied that he did burn his own old comics that he did not want to read anymore.
Yeah, but he was like, yeah, but these are trash. Like, I'm not burning them for moral reasons. It's just other
No.
people shouldn't have to read these.
Yeah.
I appreciate the effort to turn it into a swap meet, you know?
Yeah, he basically turned it into a swap meet where he didn't actually have to like give anybody else a comic. So if he still really wanted them, he could keep them. But
I love it.
yeah,
Oh, man.
That was
all
just
right.
table stakes.
So this is going to be our new what? 429.
Oh, yeah, I already scrolled away. It's done.
Cool beans. All right, we got one left, and this is part of the series of Marvel holiday specials, which started coming out in the 90s.
yeah. This one's from 07.
Yep, and specifically we want to look at the first story here, which is also the cover, which is a Wolverine Spidey crossover called Piece of Cake.
Yeah, so this is 2007, which is peak Wolverine and Spider-Man are friends, I guess.
Do you guys eat cake on Christmas?
Never,
Mm-mm.
never have
This
I ever.
this story features a like multi-tiered wedding cake
It's
that
huge,
that Peter is supposed to be delivering to Aunt May for Christmas.
and he's tried this multiple years.
times, like,
Yeah,
every year.
Yeah,
The
now
premise of this story
Okay.
is silly.
I had just accepted the premise of the story
I was like-
without questioning it.
Wait, you didn't question the fact that he's holding?
No, this is not a thing that people do. You're absolutely right.
I was like,
This is
maybe other
wild.
people do it in other parts of the country.
Okay, but even
we
if
all
they
live
did,
in
have
different
Christmas
parts of the
cakes.
country.
would you ever actually just carry a 3-tiered wedding style cake around town with you? Like this
No,
is something
It
you
would be very structurally unsound.
No, you get those delivered, is what you do.
yes.
That's a
Listen, my
Like-
wife is a great baker. She has made some tall cakes.
I'm sure.
Mhm.
She has made some tall, complex cakes.
Mhm.
You are not carrying those willy-nilly through the streets of Manhattan.
No.
You're not just gonna
You're not
have
getting
one
on the subway
uncovered.
with that cake.
Yeah,
You don't
Yeah,
just
no,
bring it with you to work.
yeah, that was
Especially-
also wild. He was just like, oh, I gotta stop by work. Better bring in this whole cake.
Well, and it's implied that he's been standing there for 2.5 hours
With a
while
cake.
J. Jonah Jameson berates him for bad photos
Uh-huh.
while he's holding the 3-tiered cake.
It is a silly thing.
It really is. So Wolverine's in the sewers, getting sewage on him, which good for
Looking for
Wolverine.
discarded sentinels, and you know where you put a sentinel is in the sewer, a place where it could not fit.
This is definitely a air duct situation.
So
I
I
was gonna say it's duct adjacent.
have crawled.
This is skilled trades.
It is. I've crawled through underground tunnels before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so on our
Why?
campus, there was one day where I was walking between, this was in college, between buildings, and a guy just pops out of a hole in the ground. And I was like, whoa, what?
Not like a maintenance worker.
No, it was a maintenance.
Oh, it
worker.
was a maintenance
Yeah,
worker.
and
Oh.
I was like, what?
I thought it was just the guy.
I was like, is there stuff down there? And he's like, oh yeah, there's all sorts of stuff. This is how we pipe steam around, and this is how we pipe the water. Anyway, these go all over campus. All right, well, have a good day. And I was like, he can't just tell me this and expect me to not like get in these tunnels. And
Chris,
so
I
Such an
cannot
OSHA
believe that was.
violation.
well, and
This
so
is
so
not-
later that day I got my friend who was the most up for mischief, and they don't lock them. So we
It's
just
a manhole.
we just opened up it was not a very particularly heavy one. We just opened it up and went in there and saw where it went for a while. And
Chris,
a sentinel could not
Chris.
fit in there.
Why was that your first thought? I have to go in the hole in the ground?
No, I get it.
No, what's
I
wild
get it.
is like he and another guy went much more extensively later. They found a path into the power plant because our campus had its own
Wow.
power plant.
Wow.
They found one that went into the psychology building from the outside. However, the door out of the maintenance closet into the psychology building was locked. So you can't actually get into the psychology building at large from this tunnel.
Okay, so just give us a picture here. Are you crawling around down there, or are you
No,
able
you can
to stand up?
We had to
Okay.
hunch a little bit, and at one point there was standing water, so we had to walk on a insulated pipe. Probably not a good idea.
Oh, gross.
Mm.
Okay,
All
so
of this is bad.
I'm glad that you could
ideas.
stand up in there. You're definitely right. You can't fit a sentinel
You
in
cannot. That was my
Sentinels
tangent.
are large beings.
there. Yes.
But you know what you can fit in there?
A disgruntled Santa Claus worker.
Yeah, a disgruntled Santa Claus worker who rewires a sentinel and paints it Jolly and Holly to ruin Christmas.
You know,
Let me
didn't
tell
we
you-
have evil Santa Clauses in last Chrisesmas episode?
Oh,
yes.
probably.
Didn't we have like a band of evil mall Santas that
Yes,
were
I
think
attacking
we did.
Wolverine?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So this is year 2 of evil Santa.
And
This is bad Santa.
I'm just saying, if Mall Santa can rewire a sentinel, like I feel like he could find other employment.
He sounds very hireable.
Honestly. Well, I mean, listen, this was 2007. This was kind of at the peak of the economy. The housing bubble was booming.
Yeah.
It's true.
It was
True.
Listen, it could be challenging to find really strong tradesmen work.
I
I'm
mean,
just kidding. No one's
My
like that.
question is that this Sentinel has Jingle Bell feet.
Well, yeah,
He has
he did that.
He has
right?
elf shoes with jingle bells on the end,
He did
and I'm
some
just
interesting
curious
mods.
if, like, fired Mall Santa, and we'll find out why he got fired in a moment.
Oh, I forgot
we-
about this.
we
Yeah, that
alluded
does
to
make
it
the
earlier.
comic worse.
Did he recreate this Sentinel and like give it its custom red paint job? And like, what's going on with this Sentinel so that it's
He-
Christmas themed?
He does heavily modify it.
Yeah, he's like inside of it, like it's a mech, and that's not usually what a Sentinel is either.
I am so disappointed that I've had to think so deeply about the plot of this because I enjoyed it until I thought about it.
Well, the majority of it is Spider-Man trying to avoid this cake, like
Right.
getting splatted while
It's
he and
just a
Wolverine
cute-
try and stop the Sentinel.
Cute little story, but none of it makes
Which
sense.
it's written by Andrew Fargo and Shannon Garrity, with Liu Kang on the pencils. I don't know any of these creators, but that's fine.
A lot of times these are like tryout sort of situations, right? Like these really
guess
these
so.
like vignette.
Right.
So
Yeah, sure.
it's possible that we just did not see them much after this.
Yeah. Well, we do find out why Mall Santa got fired, which was that let me just pull it up here. That's the guy we fired last year for stealing $5,000 worth of panties from the lingerie department. That's a lot of underpants.
Like, yes, and I'm just trying to imagine carrying.
Maybe it wasn't all
That-
at once.
It can't be all at once.
This is quite the heist this guy is organized, you know what I
Maybe
mean?
maybe he stuck him in
How
the
much
Sentinel.
in inventory do you think a lingerie department holds
That's
at a
what I'm
given
wondering.
time?
Right? Like
That'd
did
be
he
like the
steal
whole
all of it?
store.
Mhm.
That's a lot, and there's multiple different implications that you could make from it. None of it's very good in different ways.
No.
Yeah, it's not good for goofs, you know? Like
Yeah, no.
You could wear and throw away underwear every day for years after stealing that much underwear, which, if that was his thing, I'm not gonna shame him for that, but it's excessive. So is
It
he
really
selling
is.
I
it?
mean, what's underwear run like $7?
it depends,
Like
right?
I buy him in like a 4-pack because I'm an adult, so I don't know the piece price. But
What you
Zach
go to
gets him in his
Target, they
stocking from
have their
Mama.
5 for $20 deals.
Yep.
There you go.
So
So
if
that's
we're
what we're
going
talking.
for like Target women's panties, because I assumed lingerie department women's underwear,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, well, I was thinking, yes, I was thinking this was more of like a Macy's or a Sears situation
See,
because there's a Santa involved.
I thought it was like a
Hmm.
Victoria's Secret sort of scenario.
Oh.
And that,
Oh.
I mean, Victoria's Secret,
Okay.
though, they basically give away their panties.
Hmm.
Yeah, they make all the money on the brasiers.
Which are
Actually, the sweatpants. It's the sweatpants, really.
They get-
It's
they-
those pink sweatpants.
I was gonna say they say the
Huge
word pink
profit
on them.
margins.
They say the word pink. That's what you want.
Anyway, we are talking
okay,
about
okay.
at least 2 years worth of underwear.
So at the Target price of 5 for $20, we're talking about 1,250 pairs of underwear.
That's the name of the episode.
Merry Christmas.
1,250 pairs of underwear.
1,250 pairs of underwear.
There's the Christmas song. We did it.
There we go. 5 years running. Y'all, if you can't tell, we're definitely recording this one later than we usually do in the evening.
I do like the way this story ends, though.
Oh, where Wolverine bakes a cake.
And I love the
Yes.
reveal of it because not only does Wolverine bake the cake, Peter also just happened to like take pictures of him baking the cake. And this is in a time where, we don't have like digital. So it's all on the same roll that he gives to J. Jonah Jameson, which the fact that like develops the whole roll and sees Wolverine baking and is like, yes, this is the front page. I love it.
And all of that is good, except for the fact that I know Wolverine does not know how to bake a cake. I think Wolverine can cook red meat, and that's all. I think that's it. I think pasta may be out of his reach.
I don't know. I mean, he's been on this earth a long time. He could probably follow a box recipe and make a cake.
He's done a very bad job of being on this earth for a long time. His success rate at living is poor.
I mean, in his defense, his reaction to having his photo published on the cover of the Daily Bugle is to go with Iceman and try and kill J. Jonah Jameson.
That's right.
It rules,
It's great.
actually.
I don't really have much to say about anything else in this issue, other than there's a weird Mike Carey story at the end that features a Mangaverse cameo of Mangaverse Cyclops, which, following the second story by Akira Yoshida, is an interesting choice.
Oof.
Anyway, I think this is cute. I just don't understand the premise, because you don't eat a tiered wedding cake for Christmas.
You don't think so much, Adam. You'll enjoy the comics better if you just don't think so much about them.
Christy, we have deep
Stupid
discussions
brain.
about comics on our podcast that you think about.
Yeah. And how much do I like those comics afterwards?
That's fair.
I do like Christie's no thoughts only vibes attitude when it comes to this.
I was like, it was fun until I thought about. I mean, did I have some thoughts about that's a big cake to just be carrying around? But I shoved that down, deep down, and I kept reading, and it was fun.
Y'all,
I agree. It is fun.
I think Christy might be right here.
Yes, Christy is right. It is silly. I think it would work just as well with a pie, but it is more visual if it's a 3-tiered wedding cake. So
Wait, what do you guys bake for Christmas? Now I'm curious.
Cookies.
I mean, cookies.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, cookies.
You might make a Yule log.
I feel like I've
Ooh,
had
a
cheesecake
Yule log.
on Christmas.
Sure.
I feel like at
Or-
your family's house,
I
Christy,
feel like
they
it's still
they'll
pie
get the
season.
4.
Oh, yeah, they get the gluten-free cheesecake.
No.
Oh, that's a crime.
No.
Gluten-free cheesecake? Adam wreck.
Wait, I didn't make it. I can't eat cheesecake at all. I'm lactose intolerant. They would kill
Oh, look
me.
at me. I can't properly process dairy. Who cares?
Poor Adam.
will
He
we-
has to medicate for pizza. It's it's a tough time.
All right, where are we putting this on the list? Do we think this is better than the other two?
I mean, this one didn't
No.
have nudes, but it did have panties. So if we're talking
Yeah.
like naughty and nice, because that was the scale for Christmas.
This is pretty naughty.
Listen, the Draco is at the bottom, and that might be the naughtiest comic.
That is the naughtiest of all comics.
That is not the naughtiest comic on this list.
Hold on. Havoc threatens to give Iceman a piss body in that one.
It's still not Phoenix Legacy of Fire, my friend.
Oh, that's true.
Oh.
That hurts us in other ways.
Ugh, I hate when we have to mention that book. Okay.
I love it. It's
so we're saying
bad.
this is the worst of the three?
I mean, I think it
violence.
is, but it's it's not like,
It's like right there.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's not egregious.
Right. Like it.
I think it's better than the Paris story we talked about before, the all-new X-Men story.
Probably better than Generation M.
Yep. I think it's on par with this A-Force story at 450, Dazzler Thor.
I think it's better than A-Force below the New Mutants Return of the Legion.
I agree. All right, so this is going to be our new 450. So bunch of 400 stories here, but there was some holiday fun in there.
Yeah, more
Well, I
like
had a lot of fun.
400.
I was going to say I had a lot of holiday fun with my friends Chris and Christy, but I actually don't know if that's true anymore. No, this is great. Christy, what do you guys got going on? What should the folks know about? We check in on you every year. How y'all doing?
Well, you can still check out our podcast. We're at Chris's Pod on Twitter and Facebook. So you can catch us there. You can catch Chris doing writing and editing at CXF. And
Yep. Christy, you might get back there.
I've been a little burned out, but we'll see. I still have a Cebulski comic to write about at some point.
Oh,
At some point.
It is in the tank.
It sits on our shelf.
I have
Ugh.
written the intro. It is painful. I will get there.
I know I
Someday.
am very excited to be on the show in the new year. So I think Chris and I have
Wait, on what
solidified.
show? What
on
show are you
Chris's.
doing
I-
without me? What are you doing without me?
I am a patron of Chris's on Infinite Earths, and I am going to be a guest with my story. What did I end up deciding on? Oh, can I tell them?
Yeah, it's fine.
No, you don't want me to tell them. You just the
It's-
tone of your voice said no.
Well, no, I was just thinking about how, because we've started to schedule out the next year, and yours is like, I think, end of January. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we say that.
Okay.
You can say that.
So I can say
Yeah.
that it's the Walt Simonson, Art Adams new Fantastic Four.
Mhm. The
I
Monsters
am
Unleashed.
so excited to talk about that with you guys.
Hey, y'all are just stretching the word crossover to be whatever you feel like talking about, right? Because I love that.
Well, Zach, originally I wanted them to read Deathmate, but that didn't fit their rules of availability online. So we're doing a fan favorite here.
Mhm.
Good. I don't think. Actually, no. I do want to know Christie's opinion on Deathmate.
No, we would never make Christy read
The comic
Deathmate.
that you're supposed to be able to read in any order, but there's definitely an order, but it also doesn't make sense even in order.
There's
This sounds
there's
like
an
exactly the sort of thing I would vibe with. It doesn't matter what order I read the comics
No,
in.
but it does.
No, it doesn't. Not
there's
for
an
me.
optimal order, but it's
still
still not
nonsense.
enough.
No, don't do that to yourself.
I read Zero Hour in reverse order and still basically understood what it
That's
was.
very funny.
To be fair, it literally counts down as a gimmick. But I don't think they put it in that order on the app. I think
You
they put
just
it
shove
0,
your
1.
confusion deep down and just vibe on.
Sometimes the app is wrong. You're like, oh no, obviously it should go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Numbers matter, right? Oh man.
Oh, folks, you can find us over at Comics XF, having all sorts of fun and vibes. And it's always like a fun time. Adams, you're doing some cool fun stuff, aren't you, buddy?
I guess you can always follow me on Twitter at Arthur Stacy. And Zach, we have some bonus content for this episode after we have wrapped up ranking here, right? So you mentioned, who do you have coming up?
We have a Christmas present for you guys.
Yeah.
It is our conversations from this weekend at C2E2. Adams with legendary lethal Larry Hama, and mine with Chris Claremont. And we're very excited about that. I only got into a 45-minute fight with Chris Claremont about Nanny. Fight's the wrong word. I was trying to end it, and Chris Claremont kept asking questions. At a certain point, you kind of just want to see where it's going.
See,
where's he going with this?
I only have
That
one
is
thought
not
about
what-
Nanny, which is the fan theory that she's actually really hot in there.
Oh.
Well, yeah, what's the ventilation like? She's got to get very warm.
I would have asked Chris Claremont about it.
Here's the thing. Nanny's definitely attractive. I also never want to see Nanny outside of the egg. I think that would be wrong.
Yeah, it's true.
That,
it's true.
We've seen her silhouette.
She's a bombshell. I get it.
However, that 45-minute back and forth is not what we recorded.
We didn't. Y'all, I don't want to say I picked on an old man, but some would call it bullying at a certain point.
Zachary.
Zach,
no,
you didn't.
Listen. He kept asking me questions. I simply answered them correctly. He was like, but wait, what about all of that Jim Starlin stuff? I was like, Chris, you just read it wrong. It all restarts with Moira. Come on, buddy. Get with the program. Anyway, Chris Claremont's son is a delight, by the way.
I'm sure he's like, if we see those guys at another con, we are calling security.
No, because hold on. Now we have to get this on record. One, as I was walking away, after costing Chris Claremont, I cost him. Chris Claremont cost himself several $100s in signings because he wanted to argue with me. He said, well, never going to see those guys again. Little did he know that I had already scheduled an interview with his son the next day, so I switched my glasses, and he was none the wiser.
So,
did he really say never going to see those guys again?
Yes, he
yes.
did.
Hilarious.
He said it.
Chris Claremont is fantastic, y'all. I love it so much. You know we love Papa Chris here.
We do.
We wouldn't be here without him.
I
don't think I called him Daddy Chris, but I might have.
So enjoy the bonus content. We hope everybody has a happy and safe holiday. And what do we got going on next week, Zach?
Next week, we have a really fun conversation with Ben Percy talking about Wolverine, X-Force, and then the 10 Lives and X Deaths of Wolverine. It's really cool. Go check out that interview next week. But until then, this has been Battle of the Atom, and we hope you survived the experience.
Hey guys, this is Adam. We're at C2E2 2021, and I am here with lethal Larry Hama. Larry, how's your con going?
It's very good. It's a really good turnout for my stuff, at least.
Yeah, I've noticed you've had a nice line throughout the weekend, and you're doing something unique, which I don't see a lot of writer-artist combos do. You're taking sketch commissions.
Yeah, I have always done this. Yeah, but I just do pencil sketches at cons. I don't do like ink commissions or anything.
Yeah, it's got to be pretty time-consuming, right?
What, to do a full?
Like full-on.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
And I'm not really an inker. You know, I mean, I started out doing that a long time ago, but you know, what I can do best is conceptual and layouts and breakdowns and storytelling. I'm a storyteller more than a finished artist.
Yeah, I think recently we reviewed the Daredevil Wolverine crossover, and we noticed you were the artist on that.
Oh yeah, that was an early job. Yeah, way back. Yeah, it was the first time I ever drew Wolverine.
It's really cool. Speaking of Wolverine, you are back with the character with a short arc on X-Men Legends. How's it felt getting back to the character?
Oh, it's like going home. I'm doing another arc too, so.
Very cool. I think one of the things that people recognize the most from your work with Wolverine is the way you wrote him. I personally am a huge fan of Jubilee, and I feel like your work with that character has kind of been, aside from the animated series, what people really think of when they think of her character. How did you approach writing her originally, and then now that you're coming back to the book?
Well, you know, I think I understand where she's coming from, you know, and she's a very consistent character, you know, and I like her, so I try to project that into it. You know, she has her vulnerabilities and stuff, but you know, she's cool. So, and you know, I've been playing around with her powers too. You know, because at first her powers seemed awfully ineffectual.
Yeah.
But, you know, then one day I realized, gee, if she could make that happen, you know, in somebody's nether regions, that would be pretty upsetting, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So all of a sudden it became a viable, you know, weapon, you know? So.
Absolutely. Now, you have said, and you hinted just a minute ago, that you have another arc coming up. Are you allowed to spill the beans on anything we might be able to expect, even just generally?
I can't even keep track of what's out there. You know, I mean, which arc of? See, I did an arc of Albert and LCD,
right,
in Madripoor. Then I just did a Wolverine and Jubilee in 3 Asian countries.
Yep.
You know, and now I'm doing Patch.
Oh, cool.
You know, in Madripoor.
Very nice.
With some new characters, and you know, the usual supporting cast for Madripoor. You know, like Tiger and General Coy and the Prince, and you know, those. It was fun dusting them off, because in the present continuity, I think they're all dead.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Do you find like a freedom in the fact that you don't have to worry about contemporary continuity? You're allowed to just kind of.
And also, you know, I like those older characters. You know, I think it's really messed up when people come onto a title, they just start killing people off. You know, it's like, okay, why don't you just retire them in case somebody else wants to do them? You know, rather than, you know, kill them off, because the next guy comes along, they resurrect them.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's senseless. It's just you know, people's egos out of control.
Are you keeping up with any of the new X-Men stuff in the current era?
Haven't read a single one.
Okay. All right.
I mean, because honestly, I haven't bought a comic, paid money for a comic since 1963.
Oh
isn't
wow.
it?
Okay.
You know, when both companies gave me the bundles, you know, every month I would get every single comic that Marvel and DC did.
Oh, that's so cool.
You know, but that all stopped.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't go to comic book shops and buy comics.
Yeah.
If people want me to read something, you know,
They could send it to you.
they can send it to me. And you know, I'll take the trouble to go back and do the homework, you know, if they send me the stuff. You know, and now in the digital age, it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I wrote the Death of Captain America novelization without ever having read any of those books beforehand.
Yeah.
They just sent me all, you know, links to the digital versions, and I read like that entire run, plus something like 4 years or 5 years of Captain America, plus, you know, a couple of years of other ancillary characters.
Mm-hmm.
And that brought me up to speed.
Right.
You know, when I took on Wolverine, I had never actually read Wolverine.
Really? Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, well, you know, they were going to cancel the book because the numbers really were terrible.
Okay.
So they, you know, and I've been bugging them to give me another book to write, and I guess they figured Hama couldn't, you know, mess this up any worse than it was. And you know, within a year, it was the number 2 selling book in the country. You know, so I was like, and I that still couldn't convince them that I could write.
Really? See, I think
they told me that the success of G.I. Joe, when it was the number 1 selling book in the country, was a fluke, had nothing to do with my writing. And they said the same thing about Wolverine. You know? And I said, well, you know, what can I say? When I took on G.I. Joe, the old pros told me that if I took on a toy book, a licensed book, I would never be offered an A-list book ever again in my life.
Wow.
And they were right.
Oh.
I was never offered an A-list book while it was an A-list book.
Uh-huh.
You know, I took D-list books and made them into A-list books.
Well, sometimes that's a solid strategy, you know what I mean? I mean, I think you're probably most well known for G.I. Joe and Wolverine. Do you have like regrets about that legacy, or are you like really satisfied and happy with what you got to write?
I'm glad I got to write anything, because I spent, you know, I had to draw comics for close to 20 years before they would let me write one.
Yeah.
And it was all, I think a lot of it is all because all the editors were writers.
Okay.
And, you know, an artist writing their own stuff is terribly threatening. It's also money out of their pockets.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if all the artists started writing their own stories, you know, all these editors would be out of work, right? So there was tremendous resistance. I was a full editor at Marvel. I couldn't get a single Marvel editor to give me writing work. It was so bad that I was able to prove that to the editor-in-chief, and he gave me special dispensation as a full editor at Marvel to write for other companies.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's wild. Now, this week, I want to ask you a little more of a serious question here. This week, you made a post about a colleague of yours in the bullpen who was experiencing just some pretty outright racism in the bullpen.
No, it wasn't what you call outright racism. It was just sort of insensitivity. I mean, you know, Maury was, you know, a beloved character. You know, people really liked him. You know, but you know, the culture and the atmosphere at Marvel was very much like a small town and a family, and you know, you feel freer to to make sport
Yeah,
of,
sure.
of like, you know, your cousin, your freaky cousin, than you would of a total stranger, right? And you know, he just never. I understand that one year he finally did explode, and but he still didn't explain why. And it wasn't until after he died that they found out that about his military experience.
Yeah.
No, there wasn't an awful lot of racism and malice at Marvel. I mean, Marvel was always pretty diverse. You know, Marvel always had, you know, black and Latino artists and writers. At one point, most of the letterers in the comic book industry were Japanese American. You know, like this is, you know, one guy gets into the slot and he says, "Oh, you know, Cousin Bill, come on in, the water's fine." You know, it's like why you know, all the coffee shops in New York are run by Greeks.
Right.
You know, and all the dry cleaners are Korean, and you know, all the food markets were Korean. You know, it's like, you know, one person, you know, tests the water and says, "Hey, you know, this is cool." No, I thought Marvel was pretty good for that.
Okay. I want to thank you so much for taking a couple minutes here.
Okay.
Last question.
Yeah.
We know you've got another arc of X-Men Legends coming up.
Yeah.
Anything else that you're working on that you want to just make people aware of?
Well, a lot of stuff I can't talk about.
Oh, okay. Super secret stuff. Okay.
You know, movie projects, other projects. But I'm still doing G.I. Joe. I'm up to issue number 290.
Awesome.
And, yeah, keeping my hand in the game.
Good.
Hopefully a few more things from Marvel.
That would be great. Larry, thank you so much for taking a couple minutes today. It's been great.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sitting here on the floor of C2E2 with Chris Claremont, legend from writing X-Men, Iron Fist, Spider-Man team, or Marvel team, excuse me. A lot of things. Chris, how's your show going so far?
So far, so good.
Good. Now, we like to get some hard-hitting questions here. We like to be some really strong journalists. Chris Claremont, what was with that time that you turned Rachel into a dinosaur?
What do you mean?
Did Alan Davis just want to draw dinosaurs? Or did you want to just make her a dinosaur? I'd love to know.
6 of one, half dozen of the other.
That's a very good
It's
answer.
like if you're dealing with a different culture and a different technology and a different attitude towards from one side versus the other, why not mess things up? Also, her transformation was not intentional, it was an accident. Partially, I think the interaction of the Saurid technology with her own powers as a young Phoenix, it got out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I would point out, referencing the story, her adversaries, the Saurids, were as surprised and freaked out by this as she was.
That's good. Now, you have a long history with X-Men, obviously. You were with, 17 years on the books, took some time off, came back and... We're not getting into... That's record.
That is the most tactful way of phrasing "you got fired" I have ever heard.
Listen, you came back in 2000. It was a very interesting time. I'm curious, in the time that had elapsed...
And I got fired 6 issues later as it was.
I wasn't bringing that up. But, hey, you got Extreme with Sal. That's a fun book. I saw some original pages of that earlier today. It was beautiful.
Well, Extreme didn't come around till 2 years later.
Did it not?
No.
And who can remember timelines anymore? But my question to you with that is, when you were coming back to relaunch for the Revolutions era, how did you want X-Men to change in that time, knowing that you had spent some time away from it, knowing that the franchise had gone through a lot of boom and bust in that period? What did you want to do with your time there?
Well, the irony was I didn't want... The deal when I came back as vice president
right.
and editorial
director... That was in
director,
98, I believe?
Yeah. was I would happily do any other series. I would not touch the X-Men.
Sure.
So I loved working with Salva on the Fantastic Four. That was a dream. But I ended up doing a couple of filling in the writing working with Alan Davis, uncredited. My decision.
Were those the stuff around the 12, or
what?
Was that the story around the 12? Or?
I believe so. Off the top of my head, I can't remember.
Fair enough.
But the interesting circumstance with coming on for the reboot was the editorial decision that they wanted a 6-month gap between the last issue of the previous run and my first issue, which is why everything was so different. Nightcrawler was a postulant priest. Kitty and the team were in outer space. We were throwing curves right, left, and center. I mean, from a purely selfish standpoint, I thought that Adam Kubert came up with the best Phoenix outfit I've seen. My favorite, certainly.
Okay.
Even if it only lasted like 7 issues. The problem was that Marvel was in a period of corporate conflict.
Sure.
In that the company was being sold, and the new administration, we were just getting started, and when the new administration took over, Joe Quesada had significantly other ideas. So before we even hit the ground to run, I was off.
Sure.
So all of those ideas, all of the characters, the Neo, the Bionic guys whose name I can't remember, they all vanished. Which for me was really frustrating because I had worked out a dynamic and a history, and an ongoing arc ambition. And not only was it all gone, it was all gone in a way that meant it would be very difficult for me to come back to it.
Right.
So
now,
it was a waste of time.
Now, when you did come back with Extreme just a couple years later, like you were saying, you introduced a lot of new elements to that team. You really made it your own by adding characters like Sage, who you had written as Tessa in the past, and really gave her a bit to do in that 2000s Revolution stuff, as well as Slipstream and Lifeguard. What was the impetus to add specifically those last 2 characters to the team? What dynamic do you think they brought that others hadn't?
New characters, different characters, an Australian approach to it. Again, this is what I like to do. If I'm working on a series, I want it to evolve. You don't want to see the same people over and over again. I was trying to establish a newer generation. And again, it didn't last. I mean, It was great so long as for the 2 years plus that Salva and I were working on it, and then Igor Corday and I were working on it. It was a hell of a lot of fun. But then reality changed, and the book vanished, and that was that.
Sure. Now, Chris, last question here. You always say that your favorite comic's the next one you're going to write.
It's true.
What do you have on the docket? Anything that people should be looking forward to?
Well, I have a Nightcrawler one-off coming out in February, which is the prelude to Excalibur Special Edition. It bridges the gap between the moment in Uncanny where Kitty on Muir Island sees the report of the X-Men's death, and her telling it to Kurt, and the beginning of Excalibur.
Now, is that covering any of the ground that you and I'm blanking on his name, excuse me, we're going to be Rick Leonardi, we're going to be covering in that Phoenix miniseries that never happened?
No.
Okay, so this is a different take on that same period.
Phoenix isn't part of this.
Sure.
So it is parallel.
Parallel. Perfect. Well,
and then There's another series that apparently has popped up. At least people are asking me about it here. I have no idea whether they found out how they found out, but I am doing something with Gambit.
That's very
a mini-series.
That's very exciting to hear. Chris, thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a great show.
You too.